Let me know when you're ready. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Groton Special Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. We'll be discussing Arpa tonight. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Depot, Councilor Norris, Councilor Sheffield, Councilor Carter, and Councilor McCabe.
Okay. So tonight's ARPA, so this is the first of many ARPA presentations that we're going to have. What we're going to do tonight is Chief Jenkins and Chief Tompkins are going to be talking about their issues. If you look at the information we've passed out now, you'll notice that we have more requests than we have authorization for funding. We have 2.6 million to use. So what we will be doing is going through and providing you presentations. And then at some point you will be voting and deciding on which ones that you want to fund with ARPA funds. Okay? With that, Chief Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilors, for allowing me to present my projects that I would like to have covered under ARPA funds. I did provide you a folder. Didn't know you already had the information. The first thing I will be going over is the Next Gen, which is a computer-aided dispatch program system that we would like to get. Right now, the present CAD system was obtained in 2004 and was created by a company based in Massachusetts. The system was state-of-the-art back then and still functions and meets our basic needs. However, like everything, all systems start to fall behind the new ones. Also, companies tend to be sold to other companies and larger organizations. As it is right now, Central Square is now the parent company of our CAD system. They're still based out of Massachusetts. Some of the codes do not match the Connecticut codes. A lot of laws are different in the system than the Connecticut laws, so when we put a law in, a charge to the system when we process somebody, we have to sometimes go in and convert it into the Connecticut laws. We're working around it, so it does meet our needs right now. However, Next Gen, which is the newest and updated system, is a company based in Connecticut. It is housed here, created here. It's recognized through Connecticut police departments and state agencies as the state standard in law enforcement technology. It serves 156 cities and towns in Connecticut out of the 169. We are one of those 12 cities that still use it. That includes the Connecticut State Police, DMV, DEP, DEMIS, Capitol Police, Central Connecticut, and a host of others, including the Groton Town Police. They just switched to it 2 years ago, I believe. Some of the benefits that this Next Gen has that would benefit the citizens and any outbreak that we may have in the future. It has extensive geocode system, which allows the department to plot calls with names, address, and with the assistance of the CAD map plot of our town, which will help identify and plot large infectious areas as they come up. This will help in locating the cause of a possible super spreader if one comes up again. The identity of a known outbreak area in real time, it's one of the key things. The geocode system will also ensure fast response to medical calls. Assist in the contract tracing, since we will know whom was contacted when and where as the officers respond to the COVID-19 affected individual or any individual that comes up with another medical condition. It can create interactive pie charts, bar charts, graphs, and mapping. This allows the agency to visibly plot calls based on calls types and generate heat spot mapping or pin mapping. It also has something that's integrated is LexisNexis, which is, allows individuals to obtain accident reports electronically, which prevents less in-person contact and contamination possibilities. It also interacts with all the state forms to include IDEMIA Live Scan, which when you bring somebody in and process them, you have to fingerprint them. The present CAD system that we have does not integrate with the system, so we have to go and repopulate everything, which takes time. It also has the DWI forms and the Alvin Penn Law racial profiling information forms in it, so it goes all the way already to the state. It reduces the time the individual has to be in here. So you're gonna eliminate a lot of arrest time, a lot of contact time. You're gonna be able to plot where individuals are, and plot in real time where outbreaks may come, so you can hopefully pinpoint what is causing it and isolate it. So that's something that's gonna be very helpful to us if we are able to get it. We're gonna get it eventually. If I was to say there's any negative part to this, is I attached the quote in your packet. And the quote is good until December 14th, 2022. And that is the entire packet. That includes the whole program integration, which I provided you, as well as the first year's maintenance fees. So that's a total of $200,691.45. I think it'll be very helpful in plotting any medical issues or anything that pops up. And we can help legislate Health District in locating it and stopping anything that comes up.
Any questions from council on this? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Okay. I have several. First, because I didn't write it down yet, so I don't forget. So, do we currently have mobile capabilities? So it looks in here like this new system, like you as the chief will be able to have on your iPhone, you could look up reports and stuff?
We do not have that on our phones right now.
And that's something that this system would provide?
Correct.
So if you're out and about, like, say, in someone's house having a conversation, you could pull up
We could get
a
that.
police report right there,
Correct.
which would make probably doing that a little bit easier. Do we currently pay maintenance fees for the system that we have right now?
We do, and I don't have that cost with me. I apologize for that.
Okay.
It is slightly larger. This new one is slightly larger than we are paying now.
The
I don't know the
maintenance fees?
exact difference. I'm sorry?
The maintenance fees
Yes,
are
ma'am.
higher a little bit?
Yes.
And have you assessed that that will fit in your budget as it is right now?
We can make arrangements for it.
Okay. And did I hear you correctly that the integration with LexisNexis would allow residents to get a police report online?
Yes, ma'am.
So I could, instead of having to come here and inquire and get a printed police report, I could go online?
Pay the $10 or $15, and we are starting that now with our system, but it's an added fee. This is built in
Okay.
to this system.
And then you alluded to this, but how long do you think until we would be forced to move to this system in general? Like 10 years, 15 years, till the
would
one
say
we have is
within-
outdated?
Within 2 or 3. I
Okay.
brought it up a while ago with the mayor some time ago, that we should start looking into it. Because right now, the one we have now, it does work. It meets our standard needs. However, now the new company, Central Square, has taken over. They're being less cooperative with the state.
Okay.
As far as, like, we cannot do in-car tickets right now because their program won't read with the state programs, so we cannot do in-car ticketing, which will save time and less contact with people. It also won't meet with our, like I said, our fingerprint system. We have to enter it here, and then we have to enter it there. With this system, it integrates correctly and goes right through.
So I'm assuming all of the officers are pro getting this done also, because it will make their job a lot easier.
It makes, after the learning curve, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, any other questions, Councilor Sheffield?
Thank you, Chief. You said Groton Town already has this upgraded system already?
They went to, I believe they went 2 years ago, if I am correct. I know they went to it. I don't know the time frame that they went to.
And was the price similar to what is being offered here, the cost?
I would have to check with that. I don't have that. But one of the other things that this allows is any agency that wishes to, we can talk and share information through this system. Like for the incident that we have right now in the city with the convenience store, the individual hit 5 different convenience stores the other day, we would be able to electronically get their reports because the system's kind of like talk to each other as long as they allow it.
Now, the public also, I know, working at the court, they tend to come by and request police reports from our office. Will they be able to do that through
There is
the
a civilian reporting system in here. That would be an add-on to what the current price is right now.
Okay, okay. And the next thing would be, I saw this thing on internal affairs application. What would that entail as far as?
What that does is it's an internal trigger system. So we would set that, or the chief, I would set that to, if there's, say, 3 civilian complaints or 2 civilian complaints, it automatically alerts me that officer so-and-so, and this is his 3rd use of force report. You might want to look into this. So it's a not fail-safe, but a fallback kind of trickle system, that if we don't catch it on our own, this will come up and notify you. He's got 3 use of force. He's got 2 civilian complaints. It automatically goes and alerts us to look into it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Counselor Norris?
Would it be possible if you could get to us some information, one being, what would the cost of the add-on price be for the
It's, I
the
believe it's,
enhancement that,
I believe it's in the back of the very first,
Unit prices? Or
yeah, the unit price. It says optional equipment, optional items. So you have Dragon, and it has a, you know, like if we wanted Dragon, so we could just talk and write our reports instead of typing them. Some
Right.
people talk better or faster than typing. That would be another 7,500.
so,
Citizen reporting right there, that what I was talking about, that's
Yep.
$2,500. That's another add-on.
so I guess the first question is, this 202,000 does not include any of these add-ons?
Correct, sir.
Or are there any of these add-ons that you think are noteworthy and that we should consider? Or did you already do that already and therefore did not add it to this?
No, I did not add, I did not. One of the things would be, item 34, the Bolo mobile app, which is a software service allowing to share law enforcement, paper law enforcement information. So I'm assuming that would be an add-on that I may have misread.
Okay. Item 30.
There is a lot of fire and EMS add-ons here as well. I have not gone in detail on what those are. That's something the fire chief may be able to, he and I can talk about if they want to get involved in that.
Sure. I only bring it up because this is probably the one time that you potentially going to get this system. So why not look at, if not further down the road, what you think we would throw
Yes, sir.
into the packet? So that was one
You
suggestion.
can give us an update.
Right.
I can
and
do that.
Right, and the same thing was, I apologize, you know, if you could tell us what the difference is between our current maintenance licensing structure and with this.
I can get to that. Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No,
Counselor-
sir.
Counselor McCabe?
Thank you. So I'm assuming that, there's no page number, the one-time items, starting with item 1, next-gen CAD and RMS system, and so forth, that list is the the list that you're looking to purchase.
The one-time discount items? Is that what we're looking at, page 2?
No, before that, one-time items.
Oh, one-time item, first page,
Yeah.
right.
Is
That would be, you'd only have to buy the next-gen system once, and all the programs once.
But okay, where I'm going with this is, the total of the one-time items is 206,923, and your total is 202, so I didn't know,
Well, then you go to the second purchase agreement, which would be attached to that, which is the annual fees. The maintenance, I'm sorry.
annual fee, annual maintenance, 2,100,
You should have,
21,000, sorry.
yeah, so you add the two up together, and that's where I came up with the,
Well, the 206 is higher
right,
than the
wait a minute.
202.
I'm lost here.
Yeah, no, that's okay, that's okay. You can always get back to me on that. I
206,
see you
one-time
have
total, 206.
dashboard analytics with Power BI, that's
Oh,
good.
see, I went over here after the discounts. So you have the 206,923,
Yeah,
and then below that in all the red, you have the one-time COVID discounts, you have the other discounts,
Ours isn't colored.
one-time total.
and then the top
discount.
of the
This?
second page,
So all these are discounts.
Okay,
See, it's the
well,
negative.
206 minus 130, oh, so 206 minus the 30, and then add in the 21-ish
Well,
for
yeah,
the
you have-
maintenance fee? Is
you
that
have the
what it is?
206, then you minus the 20,000, then you minus the 5771, then minus the 2,500. And you minus the 30,000, and it comes over here to the total of 176,152.45.
Gotcha, and then you're gonna add on the maintenance fee?
Which is the next one.
Right, the next
Right.
page, which gets you to 202?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I understand, thank you.
Any other questions? Counselor Carter?
I'll just, I'll just speak from personal experience and use. I've used NextGen my entire career with the state police, and so I don't know anything else. But it is a good system. It's a great system. My question to you is, there's two things that come to mind. One is the training involved, right? As far as switching the officers to the new system. And the second thing is do you have a certain contract with the previous system? And if so, do you know when that's like set to expire, or would we be breaking out of a previous term?
I would have to check into the second answer of your question. I know we just paid the annual fee for that, the maintenance fee for that, for this year. The training, it has a built-in training program
Yep.
in NextGen.
Yep.
I don't know how well that works.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And one thing over COVID that I've experienced is that we automatically had to switch from a traditional in-service face-to-face to kind of like, okay, this is the material, read up on it, and kind of like, or maybe one person gets it and trains the field type of deal.
Right.
But this is the system that you could, if you had to do that, you could, where, if people are just busy and can't sit down and do the training, your wingman or your coworker could easily just walk you through certain things.
Right.
You can get it and still perform your job. It's not a system where, okay, you have to get this training prior to going to shift. It's kind of like, okay, and,
I know
that's
the
my
town
add-on.
didn't take too long to switch over.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, moving on. What's your next item?
Okay. The next item I have is the premium pay for the first responders. The way we figured that out, I think that would be covered under Section 5. I have the thing here as far as premium pay for first responders and healthcare workers during the COVID-19. For the whole time that the COVID has been going on, we were not able to adjust our schedule or change our schedule or work from home like a lot of health organizations or first responders couldn't do. We had, I forced them at one time, I didn't force them, let me take that back. We reorganized the department to run 4 12-hour shifts, just to give them some catch-up time. So they were out there doing their job. We did create up a lot of policies. We did create up a lot of protocols on how to stay safe during this time, mandated masks, and we did not mandate vaccinations, but a lot of our individuals did get vaccinations during the COVID time. Some of the things that our officers did during the COVID period, and I only went from March 2020 to March 1st, 2021, when it was really hitting. The City of Groton Police Department still received 2,958 calls for service. We responded to 856 medical calls during that time. We made 318 arrests, even though we were not trying to make arrests, trying to keep that 6-foot distance and wear our mask the whole time. We responded to 192 domestic violence calls, 34 assaults. We had 13 child custody disputes that we went to, 57 burglaries. We unfortunately had to deal with 3 untimely passings of individuals that we had to go in there and investigate it and go with the ME and take care of everything. During that time, we had 15 officers attract COVID-19 in that 1 year. We did put emergency protocol procedures in place March 15th, 2020, after Governor Lamont put out his executive orders. We put another emergency order out in March 23rd, 2020, another one into March 27th, 2020. So we did a lot of protocols on how to handle calls, how to try to keep everybody safe, and what calls we were going to meet in person. We tried keeping everybody safe, but yet they still had to go out and do their job. They did not get any pay raise. They didn't get any special time off for anything. They had to come in and they do their job. So I believe that they deserve something.
Okay. Questions, Councilman? Deputy Mayor Depot.
So I think I'll also have questions for the fire department because they're going to ask for the same thing.
You will.
My question is, in the fire department's page that they gave us, it has the breakdown of the $1 an hour. And my question is, it was done by that calculation, $1 per hour, and then divided evenly amongst all the officers. Is that also how you're doing it?
Yes, I did $1 per officer, right? $1 an hour
Okay.
for all the time that they worked. So the way I did it, let's see, I got it written down here. Yes. $1 an hour, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. And then for the year, 52 weeks a year times 2,080 came up to times 35.
I guess my question is, will it be applied, so for example, if there's one officer that worked tons more overtime than every other officer, will they be compensated differently than the other officers, or is it just gonna be split evenly amongst everyone in the
It's
department?
going to be $1 per hour that they worked.
That they actually worked?
Yes,
the
ma'am.
person? Okay, that was my question. I think there isn't any other department, I think, that had to continue doing their job as they were doing it before. I feel like every other job other than emergency services was able to kind of modify, either work from home part of the time or adjust their risk. And so I think I'm pro doing this because it is the only 2 departments that had to come to work and had to still have the same risk during COVID. So that's
Okay, thank you. Councilor Carter?
I think, in my opinion, I think even without these funds, I think we should have looked into doing something like this anyway for police, fire, or anybody obligated to work during the pandemic that was deemed not only essential but emergency services were kind of had no choice, you know. I think that and I've had this discussion with multiple people and I've not got haven't gotten any kickback from it yet, is, you know, you say that you sign up for the job and you sign up, okay, you know, you get hazard pay or, you know, you sign up for the job, but I don't know anybody that signed up to risk the lives of their family members and take an unknown virus back home and potentially hurt their loved ones, and the people that they you know, are around daily, you know, people that they care about, just the unknown, you know, coming back on an everyday basis. Nobody signed up for that.
Right.
So, you know, your officers, they signed up to put themselves on the line, you know, not their relatives and their family members. And I think just going into that mindset alone is, you know, often is forgotten unless you actually live it or you know somebody who lives it. So I think this is long overdue.
Okay. Anyone else? Counselor Norris?
I just have a request that somehow we work on the same math, citywide. So whatever formula, so there's one formula for all departments. That was one thing. The question is, also, are you looking at adding that dollar to overtime? And would it,
I would plan every
worked hour?
work hour.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, so that, and then the last thing I have is, should we consider expanding this to other areas within the city? One that comes to mind is Public Works and Sanitation.
There were two specific requests, one from chief, one
Yep,
from
yep.
chief. And then at the very bottom of your thing, finance fund, you also put in for the premium pay for other employees. There's no amount there. I'm waiting on the amount. But when it comes time, we'll talk more about that, about who do we think is really qualified to get that, based on modified work schedules, work from home, those kind of things. These guys in the fire didn't have that choice. And they worked directly with people that had COVID. So, all right, Deputy Mayor Depot.
If you had to, could you find $72,000 in your budget to pay this?
No, I could not.
Okay.
Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, Chief. Now, the 12-month, this is back the previous 12 months of the peak period, right? Because obviously this has gone longer than 12 months. How do we, which, you know, where's our timeline of the 12 months that we're talking about?
What I did was I started when we first started out all the protocols, wearing the masks, and Governor Lamont started putting everything out actually December of 2019 is when it started over in China. But it hit us over here and all our protocols started coming out in March, and I just did it for the first year.
Okay.
And after that, things started clearing up a little bit and more.
Because there was no vaccine.
Correct.
During that period between, so they wouldn't be able to have officers vaccinated anyway at that time, so, okay.
Anything else? Councilor Carter?
And this is just to piggyback off what Councilor Norris said. I think just looking ahead, right? I think, you know, there maybe should be something in place where we don't have to, and that's, I mean, God forbid anything like this happens again, but I think possibly to set up some precautions just in case, you know, something like this happens again, we already have it set in place where they know that, okay, they're going in, but they're getting something for it, you know, whether, like you said, it is $1 on the hour or something. Just to know, and just being in that situation, to know that your city or your employer is at least looking out for your best interest, it goes a long way, you know? So I don't know, and that's just you saying it's not in your budget.
Right.
And I'm just looking forward ahead based off of what Deputy Mayor said and what Councilor Norris said. Just looking ahead, potentially, if this happens again, just like I said, knock on wood.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot?
Sorry. One more question. Can you remind us what is the entry-level pay for a police officer? About?
I think it's around 68,000, or 70,000, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to guess.
Okay, anything else on this? Because I do want to move this along. All right, Chief, next one. This is your tasers, I think.
Next one is the tasers. Our tasers, the whole purpose of having a taser is to alleviate the need for physical contact or extreme aggressive physical contact. The less fighting we have to do with somebody, the better. A taser would be able to, immobilize them for a maximum of 5 seconds, so we can get our hands on them and take them under control, if need be. What that would do would lessen the time that an officer would have and the close proximity the officer would have with the individual that may be contaminated or contracted with COVID-19 or some other medical issue. Right now, our tasers are on, I equate them to Windows 7 that's not used anymore, and they're not upgradable anymore. And they are at the end of their life, and Axon is not supporting them anymore. And I think we just got the last batteries that they will be making. So I'm looking to get 8 of those, get rid of our old ones, and I have I attached the quote to the back of your packet for you for all 8. And that comes with a certain amount of taser cartridges as well, and some licenses that we have to have in order to use those tasers. So before they go bad, before they come obsolete and they don't work anymore, and we buy them ourselves, we're looking to see if we can get those through Arpa.
It looks like, because we have 67,581, it looks like it really should be 71,453.10, right? Because you got tax.
Oh, it was tax, so this is the adjusted one.
Okay, so we'll
That's
need
right.
to,
The quote said with a tax, so
we
they,
will need to adjust that number. Open for discussion.
I think on the front is the right number, I believe, on the front. It's just the quote that's off, believe.
What's that?
So the estimated cost of 67,581 should be correct.
Okay, because we're not getting tax,
Right.
okay? All right, where are we? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. First question. On this delivery date schedule, it has us getting tasers out through 2026. I know that we have a time limit on spending ARPA money. Would we pay for it in advance, or is the purchase order good enough? Because the deadline is before that, right, to spend this
You have to
ARPA
have the
money?
money expended by, what year am I in now?
24?
20, what year am I in now? 23,
22.
22, 24.
Okay. So how would that work if would they allow you to pay that up front? I'm sure they would have no problem if you had to pay it up front, but,
They've called me several times and asked how it was going.
oh, okay.
And I would believe that as long as I had a purchase order of some type, they would be fine. If
I
that's
think.
the right question.
I think the ARPA wording says expended, so my only concern is to make sure that we actually expend the money before the ARPA deadline, because otherwise you're gonna be stuck with a PO and no funding.
Right, it's gotta be obligated by the end of 23.
Obligated or expended?
Well, hold on, obligated by 23, expended by 24.
Okay. So that's my,
And maybe I don't get the question.
so the ARPA funds have to be spent by a certain amount of time. So
Right.
if you're getting tasers delivered in 2026 past that date, it says estimated delivery date 10/1/2026 at the end of the
Oh.
list.
I didn't catch that. I was,
So I'm guessing they know,
Oh,
it's
I'm-
like replacement cartridges and
Right.
stuff?
that is, no, that would be if we broke it down yearly. If we wanted to pay all of it, the 71, or actually the 67,581, we would delete, we wouldn't have to worry about November 2022. They broke it down if I was paying it for myself, and that would be my yearly payment.
Okay.
So they would give me them if I gave them the 6,000 up front, and then next year they would bill me 15,000, and then another 15, unless I wanted to pay for them all up
Okay,
front.
so that is an option.
That's a payment plan.
Okay, that leads me to my next question, which is, if you don't get ARPA funding for these tasers, will you have to replace them anyways?
I will have to replace them anyway, and I'd probably end up in this plan right here. I'd
Okay,
come
so
back to the council meeting.
the plan for that is the payment plan,
Correct.
which will extend it, and will that still provide sufficient number of tasers and batteries if we had to do the payment plan
Yes,
for the officers?
yes.
We
it will.
wouldn't go without?
Right.
Okay,
We have 8 tasers. We put them in lockers. We don't have enough for each individual officer. So we have 8 tasers that are in lockers. Every time you come on a shift, you go to a locker, you pull out a taser. At the end of the shift, you put the taser back in.
does this plan provide for a taser for every officer?
No, that apply,
It's-
we've always had just 8 tasers for the PD
Okay,
forever, since we've got the tasers. They share the taser.
and does that work?
Works good, now that they got used to, taking the cartridge off when they test it. You don't want to
Okay.
leave the cartridge on when you test it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Counselor Sheffield?
Chief, would there be expenditures for training on the new tasers?
It would be limited, and that would be done at our range training that we do yearly anyway. The only difference that these tasers are is the cartridge itself. I don't know if the state police has the new ones or not, but the cartridge itself now has 2 cartridges attached to it. One is a close range and one is a farther range. So you would, if you're close, you tilt your hand, and that clicks it over to the short range taser. And then if it goes, you just click it again. So it's, the only difference is, the click of, the twist of the wrist to change it back. So it'd be minimal in training.
Counselor Norris?
All right, can you explain to me, what are the discount summaries?
Good question. I don't have the,
Okay, because it just says
Well, the-
annual savings per
Yeah.
year, 2,000, total savings 11,000. I just didn't know if there were.
I can ask about that.
Right. But here's my real question is, if we do not approve this through this funding source, essentially you're coming back in during budget process for fiscal year '24, looking for the
Yes, sir.
67,000. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, that's it. So those are the 3 items.
The impound lot,
Well, the impound lot,
we can take care of that.
well, that's not on the ARPA
Okay.
thing, and I thought we already found funding for that. Is that not true?
We can find, yes,
If we have to come back, then I'll bring it back, but
that's,
it's not on the
okay. We're good.
master sheet. I know it's in the package, but it's
in the
not on the
package.
master sheet.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Jenkins? Chief, if we need to come back for that, we can.
Yes, sir.
Chief Tompkins? Okay, we have 2 items for Chief Tompkins.
Have, although I think you do have, I'm just gonna pass them out. Which is the original, you got these in your, yes. Okay, and underneath is just the. All right, good evening. Thank you for having me here today. So I have 2 proposals for ARPA funds. The first one is, I'm going to discuss, is actually response vehicles. We've already had this discussion. It's actually listed as my second priority. We have had this discussion because we ordered, if you remember back in May, 2 vehicles. One to replace my car, one to replace the Expedition, which runs out of headquarters. We currently run an Expedition out of headquarters and a pickup truck out of Company 2, and we run them to medical calls so that we save on wear and tear on the larger vehicles. So my proposal is to replace both of those units. The Expedition needs to be replaced, and that is a vehicle that we've already ordered. And the pickup truck also will need to be replaced, and we'd like to put it back into what it used to be, which is a pickup truck that we use for plowing. We plow our own property and use it to run around and, you know, pick up equipment after fires, things like that. So those vehicles, I originally put in the ARPA request for $100,000. That's just an estimate. I would not know until, you know, it was approved and we could actually, the prices are going up. The vehicle we did order wind up being $58,000. That's with lights, radios, and the whole package. That's the sheet that I just gave you, so you can see that total. Those vehicles run to, like I said, medical calls, and I think directly relate to ARPA and the funds that are being made available to be used for projects. I don't know if there are any questions on that.
Deputy Mayor Debo.
Thank you, Mayor. Someone asked you a similar question. So if this doesn't get approved for ARPA funds, we have already designated, where did the funds come from? Is it from your budget or your capital improvement?
Capital improvement, yeah, not in the budget. This would be a capital expense, which we had talked about, so I have capital funds to replace vehicles. My vehicle, obviously, this is not part of the ARPA, my vehicle is not. And then the response vehicles, we have changed the way we respond. We used to have 2 engines and a ladder truck that ran first due. We now run an engine and a ladder truck first due. So these vehicles are, actually the vehicle that we're replacing is an ex-police vehicle that got recycled to us, that we currently use as a first line, equipment.
So if the $58,000 was already approved using your vehicle fund to purchase a new car, if we use ARPA funds instead, then is the next vehicle we would use that money for a new fire truck?
Yes, there's money in the capital fund that is accumulating. And the mayor and the council, over the last few years, has been very diligent about putting money. My capital fund has been $200,000. Now, some of that money goes for other things like replacement of cylinders for our Scott packs. That's coming up actually next year, but we'll have that cash in capital. But currently, a ladder truck costs, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 million. And an engine is $800,000. So, it'd be great to have that money and buy it without bonding it. That's never, it doesn't usually happen. So there is money in that fund. If we do use this ARPA money, that money would obviously stay in that fund towards the purchase of those vehicles, and therefore less bonded money in the future.
Perfect.
What I'm doing right now is while we have revenue coming in from the permit fees from Electric Boat and Pfizer with the buildings that they're doing, I'm trying to put money aside for long-term, because if you remember, we just recently upgraded one of our engines, and what that did, the good news is, it extended the life of the truck. The bad news is, we now have 2 trucks that are going to expire within, end of life is within 18 months of each other. So what I'm trying to do now is put the money aside, so instead of having to bond both of those with a large funding, is to have the money so that we can offset that, buy one of them outright, and then the other one you bond. So that's, what this council is doing now is we're looking 10 years down the road or further. Deputy Mayor, well,
Sorry.
actually.
I had
already
one more
had
question.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Last question. You said that getting the new pickup will allow you to plow your own areas. Who plows that now?
No, we plow our own areas. We do use, it does triple duty. It was never intended to be a frontline response type unit. It was a pickup truck that we would use, doing service. Like I said, we plow our own parking lots and the 2 stations. We use it during emergencies, sometimes to plow for our own vehicles to get to the emergency scene, things of that nature. So we're putting wear and tear and breaking that unit down when it's not really intended to run as the vehicle that we ordered. That's a special services vehicle, specially made, kind of like the police cruiser. There's a little differences to it, but it's made to, idle for a long time, has a high idle switches to, take care of the lights when you're just parked and things of that nature, so.
So right now, if you are plowing the driveway of the
Yeah,
firehouse or something, and you get an emergency call, that truck has to stop plowing and go respond to an
Yes.
emergency call?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. I'm done.
Councilor Sheffield?
Chief, you said you put orders on both vehicles at this time? You've ordered, or just for one vehicle?
We've ordered 2.
Right.
One is my car, my vehicle.
Yep.
That is not part of the Arpa request.
Okay.
The second one is, I was requesting 2 vehicles, and then I needed to order at least 1, because we're at the end of life, we're past the end of life, the vehicle at Company 1. So that was the discussion we had. I said, I need to order it now. It's either gonna come out of capital, or when we get to Arpa, if you approve that, then finance, said they would be able to take ARPA money to pay for that one, and then we would order another one. We did order them in May, and I did get word the other day that they'll go on the assembly line in May. So we'll be lucky to see them in the summer.
So,
Yeah, so
all right.
some were going on the assembly line in August, next August.
Okay.
So I guess that's better than those.
No, nothing at
It
all.
is what it is, yeah, right.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Norris?
I'm sorry, somewhere there my brain drifted. So you're currently looking in your budget, I guess, to get 2 vehicles, one of which is yours.
There is money in the capital fund
Right.
for my vehicle, which you have
Yes,
already,
got it.
yes.
So now what you're saying is you want to use this 100,000 to get 2 vehicles, one of which was the 2 we went through during the budget process?
One of which was the second one that
Okay,
we went through.
all right,
Correct.
got it. So then rolling back is, if we don't do this, you have the money? 2 vehicles?
There is money budgeted for my vehicle
Yep,
in the capital. There is other monies in the capital that, there is a plan
yeah,
that has been long running, but the problem is that due to the cost of the vehicles,
Yeah.
the reality is my capital is underfunded yearly by quite a bit. The last years, we have put good chunks of money. If we had done that from the beginning, we would probably be able to buy our vehicles outright. But we did not do that. There were many years where we put 0 money for fire trucks. So the point is, yes, there's money in there. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars in there,
right.
earmarked to buy fire truck. If I need to use it to buy this vehicle, then, we need to buy this vehicle, and we would, but there'll be less money come the time to buy the fire truck, and we'll have to bond the money at that time.
And that's where I was going is, I don't know the philosophy, but why wouldn't we bond something that costs $1 million that you're gonna have for 30 years anyway?
That's a finance thing. I assume because you're paying interest on it. Instead of putting the money aside and gathering interest, you're going to bond and pay money. It goes against your bond rating. It goes against, all those financial things, which are not in my expertise, that I will admit.
There are a couple different ways of looking at it. We could talk about that later, but I don't want to get into it tonight. Any other questions or comments on this? All right, Chief, move on to the next one.
All right, the next one. So this is my proposal. This is my number one proposal. This has been my proposal from day one, and it's morphed and changed. I do see a new proposal on the ARPA list at the very bottom that the mayor had mentioned before. I don't know if that is in response to, there's been talk that the state allowed people to put in for ARPA money for $1,000. And municipalities were not allowed to because they received ARPA funds. So I don't know if that's what, Ron Uhas is proposing. I'm not sure. There's been internal discussions of who would be able to get that because when COVID started, the city was very proactive. They were very protective, I believe, of their employees. And they shut the building down. They shut down for days. I can't speak to every specific department, but I believe there were days where a lot of people just did not come to work. There were days, there were weeks, maybe months, where public work came in, collected garbage, and then went home. That was it. They got paid 40 hours. Utilities, some of them worked a week on, and the other half of the group was off, and then they switched the next week, and they got paid their full pay. People worked from home. So there were all these accommodations that were made, and in essence, additional pay. Thus the reason it's so passionate for me and my employees. That my employees did not have 1 second reduced off of their hours, nor did they receive 1 cent more for the work they did. I know the work we do, this is, we take on dangerous work. I understand that. But in the big scheme of things, this is the unknown. We know a lot more now. It's a lot easier to look back now, but at the time, we did not know what COVID was, how bad it was, how it was transmitted. We didn't know any of those things. So I'm not sure what that, there are some people, I believe, in the city who probably did not modify their hours at all. They didn't work half days and still get paid full pay, things like that. They might have worked there 40 hours. And so maybe they can come in and say, hey, everybody else can go for $1,000 through the state. I'm not sure they're going to get $1,000. Doesn't look that way. But maybe they should be able to come in and request that. That is not my proposal. My proposal from day one has been one of the things they actually listed ARPA money for, which was premium pay for first responders. And the way that a lot of people, defined first responders and essential workers, because those names, that gets thrown around a lot, is we were on the front line. We were the people who, when the vaccination came out, we were group 1. We were 1A. 1A, the people who actually went out in the field and did R1s. There were some police departments that could not even get the vaccination at the very beginning because they didn't do medical calls, So some people use that as that level of premium pay, not that $1,000 that the state is kind of offering. So with that, I came up with this breakdown for costs right here. We work 48 hours a week, the guys do. And so I was looking at $1 an hour raise from April of 2020, which is when COVID, if you remember, March of 2020 is when we really shut the world down, through January of 2021, which is when the vaccination became available to first responders. So that's where I got my time frame from. I thought that was somewhat realistic. At that point, if the employee so chose, they could get the vaccination to help protect themselves. So as you're looking at the breakdown, that's my time frame and why. I said $1 an hour was a number I used. We work 48 hours a week. That's 44 weeks. That gives you that number. Averaging 12 hours of overtime, I think that a low number, but I was trying to come up with just a bonus number as opposed to per hour. I'm with you. If you are going to move forward and you're going to move forward with the police and the fire, we probably want to be uniformed. How that is, I don't know. I thought this was easier than going to finance and having them try and come back hourly rate. But if you look at the math, that's what it is. 48 hours a week, 44 weeks, 12 hours of overtime a week. It would be time and a half because they get paid time and a half, so it would be $1.50 an hour on those 12 hours for 44 weeks. And that gives you just under $3,000. So that's where I came up with the $3,000 bonus. And I put 16 employees times 3. That's morphed a little. I do have an employee who retired, and we had a vacancy that never got filled. So there are 3 current employees who were not here during that time. I would not expect them to be eligible for that bonus because they did not work for the city at the time. We do have one employee who retired, who I think is entitled to that money. He was here and he worked that time. You know, I don't know how we would, get it to him, but he, Firefighter McGuigan was here during those months. So, as was stated before, and the chief said, if you know how many meetings I sat through on procedures and protocols, and we wrote up procedures and protocols, and we did the best we could to protect the employees. But we did stuff that was unheard of, unheard of to wear you might be in healthcare, wear an N95, take it off, put it in a brown bag and wear it again. I mean, it's just things that were just what had to be, but were unheard of. We had to do all that, and then at the end of the shift, go home. And to the unknown and what you were doing to your family. So that is why this is my number one priority, has been from over a year ago when they put out the Arpa requests. And dare I say, this was not a very popular proposal anywhere. You see it more now, though. Not only do you see it more, the state put $20 million or whatever it was so everybody could get $1,000. Again, this is not that. This is everything I just explained. This is the employees working above and beyond and not getting, like I said, we took care of some employees here, and I'm not bemoaning anybody. I think it was the right thing to do. But people worked half days, and they worked a week and a week off. We did not, or the police department did not benefit from anything like that. So.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Well, first, I want to echo what Councilor Carter said before, which is you may sign up to be a police officer or firefighter and know that that's a risk to yourself, but you don't plan to put your family at risk usually in those jobs. So I agree with that and with what you said. Did you just pick the dollar amount because it was a sensible amount? Or are there other departments thinking about the $1?
It was, at the time, it was in my mind a sensible amount, and to be honest with you, almost a sad fact is that grocery store workers who were working out there on the front line, they were getting dollar raises and more in some places. Stop and Shop and Big Y, they were giving all these people increases in their pay on an hourly basis. So that's where I came up with the, how do you start? What do you, how do you put a number on it? That's how I did.
And do you think, so is your plan also to do it actually by hour and this is just an estimate for the proposal? Or do you have workers who did a lot more overtime than others? Or I know it might be different.
I did not break it down into hours because in my mind, I thought that was going to be a financial, I was going to be, first of all, making work for the finance department. Yes, absolutely, to answer your question, some people work more overtime than others. There's no doubt about it. I was just looking for a flat amount.
Do you think that if every firefighter gets the same amount, that the ones that worked more will be unhappy about that?
I don't know.
Okay, and then, last question. So if we did not fund this with ARPA money, could you find $50,000 in your budget to pay this to your workers?
No.
Thank you.
Counselor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me for being late. So I just walked in, I just wanted to ask real quick about how you came up with the 44 weeks. I might have missed a part there, instead of 52.
So, right above that, if you look, COVID really hit in
Okay,
the end of March of
I gotcha.
2020, so April of 2020.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a great idea. I think it's well-deserved. I would actually even go higher because, being a bus driver, and then when we were let go, and then I still work part-time somewhere else, there were people getting an extra 600 more a week. So if you divide that by 40 hours, which is a typical full week, that'd be 1.5. I mean, I would have suggested 1.5 times an hour and then bump it up for the overtime for more monies. That's all I have to say.
So,
That's not what's.
like I said, when I started this, it was a long time ago, and it was not a popular, you know.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Oh, I just wanted to add, and I did kind of say this when Chief Jenkins was up, but I do think whether it's to increase, I would be in the favor of being more inclusive, of making the two departments the same. So the same time frame, the same amount. I think that that would be best, and obviously would be worked out amongst the two of you. I just think that makes the most sense to make it as equal as possible with the two departments. So if, for example, Chief Jenkins encompasses 12 months, maybe yours should encompass 12 months.
Absolutely. I agree with that. When you go in, if you want to actually get the actual numbers, that's going to be a finance thing. They're going to have to do a bunch of
Right.
work to do every employee. I think that's why I was coming with a set
Yeah.
number, kind of a roundabout number. But I agree with you. If we're going to do a year, then I can recalculate the
I mean, even
the
if
year.
it doesn't require, even if it's just like designated the same, I just think it would make the most sense for both departments to be the same, because essentially it's the same risk. Both of you had to work unmodified
Agreed,
schedules, so.
absolutely.
Counselor Norris?
The beauty is with the payroll software, you can put in the department number or whatever and just spit out every single person that worked X number of hours within a time period. So that would be an easy, simple way to get both parties on the same page.
Anyone else? Okay, that's it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you both chiefs. Okay, we will move on now from ARPA. We'll take a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-206B. Upon motion and vote of the city council to discuss Branford matter to include mayor, council, Joe Summers, and Attorney Bob Burcham.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We are in executive session. So let's kill the mic.